YouTube. Am I streaming on both? Is it? I'm confused. Oh shit. I am streaming on YouTube. What is going on? Apparently I did something. I must have did my restream. Okay. Hello everybody. I guess we'll do it like this. I'm so used to watching just the Twitch chat. Welcome. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like I thought I was streaming just on Twitch, but hey, YouTube, that's fine too. I don't care. I wanted to talk about some of the things Caravan related. Holy crap. It's like everybody's watching me on YouTube. It's like nuts. Maybe I should be doing this more often on YouTube. Hello everybody, like welcome. Jesus. Yeah, no, are you okay, man? This is not Twitch. Yeah, I know. I apparently because I did set up a restream, the restream.io. I just didn't know how to use it. And so I was like, screw this. I just won't, you know. I just won't do it. YouTube actually notifies me and isn't annoying to log into. Yeah, no, I've always thought to be more of a YouTube streamer than a Twitch streamer. But I figured going the route of Twitch was just easier for me to start with. But hey, if the restream's gonna work, I'll just do it on both. Like I'll stream on YouTube and Twitch. So whatever's just easier for people, I don't mind. I want to be able to integrate the two chats, and that's what I was trying to figure out, of integrating YouTube's chat with Twitch's chat, so people on Twitch can see the YouTube people and vice versa. I hate logging into my Twitch account, so this is better. Okay. All right. Well, guys, welcome on YouTube. Welcome at all. So there was some stuff about the Caravan stream. Oh, and honestly, if you didn't see my latest very analytical and, you know, completely non-debated video of like why Ashes of Creation should have PvE servers, please go check that out now. I mean, it's a banger. And honestly, like even Steven Sharif commented on that video and said that he agreed with everything I had to say about it. So, I mean, if that doesn't prove anything to you guys, like nothing will at that point. So yeah, go watch it. Go watch it. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is the Caravan stuff. There was a lot of cool stuff that the Caravan stream showed, and I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on specific parts of the Caravan stream. So kind of strap in a little bit. We're gonna have a lot of discussion based off of you know, the PvP stream. A couple of things that I didn't see people really talking about, and this is stuff that Steven has mentioned, and how certain UI elements are going to work. So yeah, I'll point that out when we see it. But yeah, there's some big Caravan stuffs, especially when it comes to the opt-in system, that we definitely need to discuss, because I think this is going to be the next video that I'm going to be working on, is the event opt-in system. And the opt-in system is basically linked into not just caravans, but into like open world PvP events, anything that's on the marker, just any kind of event, like a world event in Ashes, whether it's a PvE or PvP event. But mostly I want to go off of the PvP events specifically, because I think there is a particular context that I want people to understand from that. So Nemesis, what's going on, man? Happy to see you. I just went to go switch to the Twitch chat to see if there was anyone watching me on Twitch. Just wanted to let my Twitch people know that I'm actually streaming on YouTube as well. So if you find it easier to watch on YouTube, I'm live there right now. So if you want to watch me there, but if you want to watch me on Twitch too, hey, go right ahead. But I'm going to try my best to go in between the two chats to see dialogue. There's way more people on YouTube right now watching me, so I'm going to kind of stick to the YouTube stuff. So if you're talking on Twitch, I'm sorry if I don't see it right away, but I will try to click back and forth to go into it. So let's, without any further ado, let me pause this and go into it. Yes, Kat, same. Like, and that's the one thing I wanted to kind of talk about with the attackers and defenders for caravans. Okay, so I am probably not going to watch because there's certain things that I want to talk about. So, and I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching me right now has seen what we just saw, right? So I don't know if there's really a point in watching it all the way through, but I do want to highlight certain things, right? Okay, so let's go in here. Perfect example right here. Do you notice that you can't see an HP bar? Like, there is a bar of HP, but there's no numerical value. Do you guys notice that? So this is the first thing that Steven has talked about when it comes to the unknown of the power level of someone. So you're going to click on somebody and there's not going to be potentially a lot of information that you can know. So right now we do see that this is a level 15. You see some buffs that he has, but other than that, other than that, all you know is that he has 75% of his HP bar filled out of 100. And I personally love this idea of you not being able to see certain things. Now, I honestly want to go a step further into that as well. And again, and this is something maybe coming from my World of Warcraft background, but whenever you're a certain level, like let's say you're level 15, you can see like other, people around that level. But if you start going higher, like a level 23 and you're level 15, you won't see level 23, you'll just see a skull. So you'll know, oh damn, this is way higher than I currently am level wise. I would love if Intrepid actually experimented on that as well. So that way you as a level player can't really see what level they are. And then you also can't see like their actual numerical HP value. So it's a lot of different unknown factors at play here. I don't know. And again, this is just something I wanted to mention to people. I'm pretty sure people did talk about it. So let me see. Yeah, I think this is a great idea for PvP. It makes me curious how many items and buffs you can apply at low HP. So, I mean, I think when it comes to buffs and debuffs, I really kind of don't want there to be a limit. I think old WoW, like classic WoW, used to have like debuff limits or buff limits. Like, I kind of don't want to see that. I think you should be able to apply whatever party. Like, I don't think buffs should be stackable. Let me be very clear. Like, if there is a certain bard buff, like that bard buff should be the only bard buff you have. So if you have 3 other bards, you can't have 3 of the same bard buffs like on a player. That's kind of stupid. But I think if there is unique buffs throughout the party, I think you should be able to apply all of them to, like, if you have every class present, you should be able to have all the buffs possible. So that's my first thing. Now I'm going to kind of let certain things play out in the background. So I just have it paused, but I just wanted to have that kind of be the discussion to kind of first talk about, because it was really crazy how a lot of people really didn't see, or even talk about like the non-visible numerical HP bars. So the other thing I want to talk about, and this is also just quick feedback, the mage orbs. I honestly feel like the outer orb needs to be removed. I would love to just see what that looks like. Because I think the whole big old balls, it's too much. And again, I like the spell. I think the electric orb in the center is enough, you know, but I don't think the entire bowl is just, especially when you have a couple, this is only what, like 40 something people, like 50, like in total of everybody. And just with all these orbs popping up, it's very distracting, right? Like it's too much on the VFX for me personally. You see, I more mean like set effects that gives defensive buffs at low HP to make people commit to kill you more than they should. Oh, okay, I understand your point. Yeah, like I completely agree with that. I think when it comes to the kind of temporary buffs and debuffs, definitely should be let me see. Oh, Phantom, dude, what's going on, man? Basin, D-Jugs, how are y'all doing, man? I'm streaming on YouTube as well, so forgive me if I don't see you all on Twitch. So I'm just trying to keep track of both the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat because I don't have a bot yet to have integrated both of them. But if you want to watch me on Twitch, more power to you guys. But yeah, I'm basically, okay. So that we talked about, right? So buffs, debuffs, the actual, I'm trying to freaking think. My brain is like not working right now. Yes, the orb. Sorry, Cat got me back on track. I think the orb needs another pass. Would rather be a core of lightning and there's bolts hitting the ground if they're targeting their path. Yes, 100%. Like, and again, like I think the spell itself is fine. I just think the sphere is just, it's too much. It's too much visual noise out there. The other thing that I did want to talk about, and since I'm just gonna I'll have music in the background just so we can have something. The other thing, and this is something I've messaged Vacnar literally on Wednesday, and I have not gotten word from him yet. And maybe, hey, if Concordian Slurp comes in my chat, maybe I can ask him, if he stops by. But I basically just wanted to talk about the this is going to be basically the basis and the core of my new video, is the opt-in PvP system for world events. So a caravan is a world event because whenever you're out in the world, you can either opt in to defend or attack a caravan. So we all know that the Ashes of Creation raid system goes up to 40 people, right? So you have your 8-player, and then you have all the way up to, as you see here, like all the way up to 40 players. Like if you fill up the entire, rectangle here. What happens outside of that? That's the first question I want to present to you guys, because there's two ways of thinking about this particularly, right? The first way of thinking is, if I create a caravan and I have my defenders of a max group, like Steven's group, right? 40 players that are all defending my caravan. If I go out into the world now with a full group and there's people there like, hey, can I help you defend your caravan? What happens to the 41st player? Can they opt in to defend my caravan? Or is there no pop-up anymore because the raid is full? What do you think should happen? Do you think that player should just not be able to participate as a defender? Or do you think they should be able to participate as a defender? So that's basically the question. And right now, the mode, at least for me, like what I am personally thinking is, I don't think they should. Now, hear me out. Let's just be realistic for a second. For the people that have played ArcAge or any kind of an MMO that has a caravan system, those systems have just been number games because there isn't a limit. So if you want to take 200 people with you on your caravan run to go from point A to point B, then that's what you'll do, because you don't want to, like, lose out on any materials, especially given the fact that defenders actually have more to risk than attackers do, right? Because the defenders have to literally put their caravan together, buy gold or craft the components to create a really epic, strong caravan, and then also put potentially high-end materials in this caravan, which is also another component of loss. So, of course, the defenders don't want to lose out on this. So, like I said, typically, people that create these caravans just want it to be this huge numbers game. But what if it didn't work that way in Ashes? So, let me pose a scenario. You are the 41st player. You can't, and I'm going to say this again, you can't opt in to defend because the defending is full. But let's also say the attacker to opt in to attack the caravan is also full. That player, and again, I don't know if it works this way. I'm making conversation. I want to discuss this. I want to see what your take is, what your opinions about this are. So you beat that now, 40 versus 40, which is both full. Those players that are doing the roaming battleground per se, right? Because they're doing their caravan run. They have 40 players. There's also an attacking 40 players as well. But you want to be able to attack too. Now, since, let's make this scenario that the opt-in system doesn't allow you to because the raid is full. Should the players in the two groups, the attacking and defending, should those players be green or should those players be purple? To you as the 81st player. You are now a third party. Okay, so not full like a siege. They are just in the next raid group. Okay. So a lot of players, and again, and this is also being discussed, I know this was discussed in the AOC Discord the day of the live stream and also the next day, is again, people just assume that, I'll be the, like the 41st player, it'll just be a brand new raid group that I can opt in to defend. Again, it could work this way. It absolutely could work this way. I don't know. And I asked Vacnar to give me confirmation if this is how it currently works in the game. But me personally, I don't think caravans should work that way. And just hear me out for a second. And again, I've been wrong on many systems. I've been wrong on many things. But let me explain why you shouldn't be able to join as a 41st player. Because if all it was to where you can have 80 players, 120 players, it just becomes a numbers game. And in games like ArcAge, where you're literally traveling with a group of 120, 150 players, and you're going from point A to point B, it's boring as hell because no one's going to fuck with you. No one's going to mess with you. So and again, in a game like Ashes where this map is huge, Riverlands is huge, but let's say you're not just going to go from one node of the Riverlands to the other node of the Riverlands. Let's say you're going from the Riverlands all the way to the Dunskill Mountains or some other crazy place. That's going to take you guys probably 2.5 to 3 hours. If you had 150 players with you, you're just trekking this whole path completely, like no one's going to fuck with you. Because you have 150 players with you. It's going to be boring. However, if the raid size was maxed and capped at 40 players, it keeps other people, or it keeps it from not being overpowered. It keeps things in a certain manageable line, right? Because if you have 40 players and then the attacking group only has 40 players, and that's all the two groups can ever be. And if everybody that's outside, the third party people, they can literally be spectators. If anybody wants to drop out of the group, right, of a defending and attacking, then you can choose to either opt in to defend or attack. but it usually stays at 40 per group, the attacking and defending. Then, as you're trekking along, you actually feel like you have a chance. Then your group of 40 can go up against their group of 40. And again, 40 players is a lot for people to come by. Even 40 players could actually be very intimidating to players, but not as intimidating as 150, 200 and something players, right? So then it'll just be like, hey, we're going to do this caravan run. We're going to have our 40 players. And there's that risk, that thrilling feeling of like, damn, like we need to have the best group of 40 players we possibly can have. And that's basically like what I want from the caravan system, because I feel like if you could just allow multiple raid groups of 40, the caravan PvP will be utterly boring. It just will, because no one will engage in it, because all of the smart guilds are just going to have upwards of 100 to 200 players, especially for their major caravan runs, like the ones that actually have a lot of valuable goods. But if they know that, hey, we can only take 40 players, they're going to bring the best 40 players they possibly can. And hear me out. If you can actually have, people outside of the group that is like spectating and stuff like that, those players can be talking to other guilds, jump into discords and everything like that, and be like, hey, we have, someone, is running this caravan from this point. They're currently right here. We don't know where they're heading, but we think we have an idea. So you have these kind of scouts, these kind of spies within certain guild networks and stuff like that. It does make it more interesting. Don't get me wrong. But the other reason why I think those two groups, the defenders of 40 and the attackers of 40, if those players are purple to those outside third parties, that's just as bad. Because then you can just have, mercenary groups or whatever, basically just kill whatever site they want to kill, right? It's just as bad of having multiple raid groups at that point. But if those third party players are looking at the attacking and defending side, and those players are green because they're having an internal, it's like almost like having an instance, but not really, because you can actually see all the battle take hold and everything. But if everybody is green to you, even though you see them in combat, right? Even though you see them in combat, as a third party, if you want to kill somebody, you're going to go corrupted. Like, you're literally going to go corrupted. So that de-incentivizes you to take part in the action that's happening between these two particular groups. And again, this is why I wanted to talk about it. There's a lot of people that have a lot of feelings about this. I understand, but I just wanted to see what people's opinions are. Let me see. They're already flagged for PvP, and therefore they are purple to everyone. See, possibly. We don't know. I assume that that's the way it's going to be, but what if it didn't work that way? What if because they engaged in a specific world event, that world event is its own thing comparatively to just people battling outside of the world, like not opting into any kind of an event. That's kind of the difference there. Let me see, Guild Wars 2. If there can be multiple different attacking groups, defense is screwed. And that's my point. That's literally my point. Which then will incentivize any smart guild to just be a numbers game after that. And this is the same problem we've been talking about too with world bosses. How world bosses are basically just zergs of 200 players going and killing a world boss. And we all know that Steven doesn't like scaling. So how does that work? Right? How are world bosses going to be interesting when it literally can just be a numbers game, like it is in ArcAge and like it is in a lot of other MMOs that have open world bosses? How can world boss design be interesting when you can just overpower it in a certain sense, right? Is that not how raids are supposed to work? No, they do. But again, and this is why I'm bringing this discussion for the PvP caravan, because it's really cool to see what they did, right? And see like how it actually unfolds and everything like that. But the scale of it and how it usually happens in other games is not the way it realistically plays out. Because if you belong to a very organized guild and you know there isn't a cap of how many people can help defend you, why wouldn't you not want the most defense possible? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you not want an upwards of 100, 200 people helping you defend your precious caravan when you know you have potentially hundreds of thousands of gold's worth of materials in your cargo? And so again, caravans will end up just being these long rides that you take that are completely unfun, that are completely just boring, because you're going to go from point A into the longest point B you possibly can. Or if there's a guild that you're trying to service or a node community, so you're going to go and trek 2 hours or 3 hours to that node with your 200 people, but you're never going to engage in any kind of PvP because everybody's too intimidated. Is that really fun to people? Like, are people going to have fun not engaging in PvP, knowing that it's a very losing side battle because the defenders are at 200 players? So the only logical thing to do is to, you know, basically get your guild to have the exact same amount of players or even more. Like, we're going to bring 500 players. So now you have 500 players versus 200 players in this open world skirmish. And again, I know to some people that sounds epic, but it's highly unrealistic that, you know, that'll happen all the time. Will it happen, like, you know, exceptionally? Yeah, of course. Anything can happen, like, you know, once, you know, one out of 100. But I'm talking normally. Like, on a normal day, it's just not going to happen. People will then complain that caravan runs are freaking boring. They're just not fun. It's a means to an end, but they're not fun. Let me see. If defense is limited and an opposing guild may join defense to lock out others and make many useless members as possible. Well, and again, I think there will be things that we're gonna have to, you know, find out and stuff. But I think honestly, for any people, like, if they know that 40 is their max when it comes to their defense, they're going to try their best, especially if they're in a guild, which most people that are in the Ashes of Creation community are in a guild. There's some that aren't, but they would try to fill it up to 40 players of their own people. You know, either, or if they don't have that many great people, then they can get 20 of their own people and then hire like a mercenary guild like Suspect, you know, to get 20 of their people. So now they have a group of 40, you know. And again, I think the opt-in side of things is going to happen more so on attacking than it is going to be on defending, personally. But again, I could be wrong. And this is why I want to talk about it, because I feel like this is a reasonable discussion to have. Let me see. Steven does like scaling. A dungeon boss is scaled off of the last dungeon boss in that random event in the world where they came across a damaged caravan to protect. It is scaled off the number. It is scaled to the number of defend. And again, it's kind of hard to hear when Steven does talk about scaling. And again, I could be wrong. You know what I mean? But Steven doesn't like the idea of scaling. But even me, there has to be some things in the world that have to be scaled. There just has to. Let me see. Not all 150 people will be on the same route. I mean, potentially. Let me see. Zillion said there isn't enough routes. They said in the past, you can't just cut through the forest if you want. Let me see. It can have third party four or fifth. We can't put a hand on a scenario. What if the materials are endgame materials? Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, all I'm saying is having a max size of 40 is more manageable, and it does allow for healthy PvP to occur more so than if it's not capped and then people can just bring in hundreds of players. Because I feel like if that's the case, as players, we're always going to want to have the most possible best outcome. Why would we like, if people knew you can invite up to 100, 200 players for a guild, like for a caravan run. Why would you ever want to run with 10 players or 20 players? Like, why would you want to do that? Like, you know, and again, like, I'm just trying to think of it from a player's mindset. You know what I'm trying to say? But if you know it's capped at only at the max raid size, which is 40, it makes it more manageable, right? And it doesn't have to make every single, like, expensive caravan run that you put in these expensive endgame cargo materials, like, having to be this huge ass thing, you know? Let me see. I want leaving the side of the caravan have impact on the caravan, but maybe buff if players stay next to it. Suspect guild plugin, I love it. Let me see. I think it's going to be a reputation / dominance type game. I mean, potentially, like it really is potentially like what you can do. Oh my god, my Twitch people, I'm so sorry I'm neglecting you guys. Wizzy, so glad to see you. Belly low. Oracle, Silenso, let me see, has some nasty fees on the caravan PvP topic without a doubt. Let me see. Alex, it says, allow me to chime in. The caravan system before being an arcade, I used to play it on SRO, Silk Road Online. This would work if they value on the goods decrease depending on how many people are defending it and vice versa. Interesting. So the value of goods would decrease depending on how many people you have defending. That's a very interesting take, or not a take, but like a way you would go about that system. I mean, and again, this is why I think having this discussion now is so important, because again, it's one of those things that oh my god, especially after seeing this caravan stream, I am a huge proponent of a caravan system. I desperately want this system to succeed, like more so than anyone, because I love this idea of a roaming battleground where you have a whole raid group with you, and there could be just players lurking, you know, waiting to kind of get your stuff, right? It's a really epic idea, and I love it. But if it's not properly, like, reeled in some way, I just feel like it's going to be a system that's either going to feel unfun, tedious, and boring. Like, those are my personal worries for this system. Because again, when it comes to anything that's a numbers game, that system ends up feeling very disliked by the players. When all it is just when the answer becomes just invite more players, just get more players, when that's the answer. And so I really truly hate the idea of the caravan system just being a numbers game. And so that's going to be kind of like the core of my video when I talk about the caravan system. And again, you know, it could work the way you guys are describing, right? It could work that you're going to have multiple raid groups. So if you have your full 40 of defenders and the 41th player opts in defend, hey, a new raid group is started for that group too. So you have now 2 raid groups of defenders. It could work that way. I'm not saying it can't, but should it work that way? And again, like, I know people are very much in their feels about how PvP should work in Ashes. And again, I am a PvP enjoyer. I am not like a hardcore PvP enjoyer, because I used to PvP in WoW when it comes to battlegrounds and arena, more so arena. So, you know, I like PvP, but I just like it. Like, I'm not like in love with PvP, but I don't mind it. Like, I'll do it. But anytime when PvP is just a numbers game, it's always fun for the people who have more numbers, and it's never fun for the people that don't. So, and again, we always talk about balance, right? Like, when it comes to classes, everyone's like, oh guys, like, we're gonna have to balance and balance. Everyone's all balance. But yet we want PvP or caravan runs to be unbalanced. We want it to feel lopsided. We want that to be the way to play it. I just disagree. Like, I think, you know, I think we should try to balance, in a sense, how many people could partake in the caravan system. Who's at the door? I'm so sorry, guys. So that's basically you know, what I'm basically talking about. It's just, I don't want the caravan PvP objective to be this basically just this ball of people all going into it, and you know, and it's just like a numbers game after that. Because again, if you look at the siege system, the siege system isn't just, oh, like, you know, it's 250 versus 250. It's not 250 versus 50 people, right? Because I can guarantee you, if that system, if the siege system worked that way, people would complain. 100% people would complain. And then their side would be, oh, well, just get more numbers, guys. Just get more numbers. You know, it has to be equal. It has to be like, you have to feel like you have some sort of a chance. And again, because sieges are potentially going to be instanced, which I think they should. I think the siege should be instanced for those 250 players versus the other 250 players. And then that, you know, whoever wins that outcome, you know, gets the castle, right? But let me see. Let me read some more stuff. I think it's going to be reputation / dominance type of game. I mean, yeah, me too. 100%. I feel like the 100 plus person caravan isn't as bad as you think, because you are committing 100 players time. Then you have to split the money between those 100 players. It isn't efficient. I agree that it isn't efficient, but again, because we live in this very min-max mindset of gaming culture, if you know you have very high-end materials to escort to a particular spot, you don't want to risk people destroying your caravan to get those precious materials or taking that from you. So again, it is a numbers game, you know, in that sense. But if you lock it to the 40 players, and then any third party outside of that will see those two parties as green players. So if I choose to interfere, I get corrupted. If it worked that way, I think it honestly would be better. Just my opinion, but I think a system like that would be better. Let me see. What's this game? Algorithm brought me here. Oh, Don Senior. Okay. This is Ashes of Creation. I am an Ashes of Creation YouTuber, streamer. It's a game that doesn't even exist yet, but hey, we're here and we're talking about the systems because we want to make this game, especially because the alpha is coming out this year in Q3. So I'm hoping that, you know, this game is going to shape up to be one of the best MMOs of our generation. So we shall see. Let me see. Players are going to optimize their playtime. If it's more efficient to rob than to work for the reward, they're going to rob 100%. And this is why, you know, Zillin, he made a great video on the attacking and defenders of caravans, because defenders have way more to lose than attackers. And this is the other reason why I want it to be limited to 40 players for the attacking side and defending side. Because because I've talked to many guilds, I've talked to many players on how they want to go on these pillaging runs where all day, all they want to do is kill caravans. That's all they want to do, be attackers and destroy caravans. If you're going to a particular caravan and the attacking side is filled, well, you can't do anything. You can't attack the caravan. The caravan is off limits to you. Like, if that was the case, then they couldn't really go on an all-day caravan spree, because then they would have to go into caravans that could opt in their 40-person group, like, automatically. You know what I'm trying to say? Let me see. So soloing is not pretty rewarding. So soloing is not pretty rewarding. I don't know exactly where you're getting at about the whole soloing, but you know, here, let me look at some of the comments on Twitch. Let me see, maybe nerf attackers based on how many attackers there are, cap defenders at 40 or 80 people. And again, and this is another reason why I am so happy that Intrepid is spot testing, because this is something I want them to test. You know, I want them to test how they want their particular caravan system to work. Because the other thing about it too is that if you were to do the whole Silk Road thing of like the more players you bring devalues the cargo to the node, that's fine. But what if it's not node materials? What if it's just gatherables? You can't really devalue that to a player, because rubies are going to be valuable no matter what you do. So it's only going to work for a certain aspect of the caravan system, not the entire aspect of the economy. So it really just depends on all the different things they could do to allow PvP or caravan PvP to play out. Because again, I want this system to succeed. I want people to be PvPing with these caravans. But I can guarantee you, if you're going to allow multiple raid groups, it's not going to happen. It's just not. So now you're literally forcing 80 players or more to waste their time on a 2 or 3 hour run where they're never going to engage in any kind of a fun activity because no one's going to attack them. Like, it's just going to be boring. And then these players are going to feel like, well, the cut that I made isn't worth my time, or, you know, whatever the case is. Like, it ends up just feeling like I could be doing something else. I could be working towards something else. So it's a really, really hard thing. Is there any incentive to protect a caravan that isn't yours? Well, that's the other thing too. And this is something that, again, that I've talked about with other content creators on the caravan system, is outside of the defenders that originated that caravan run, the only incentive for you is to basically message the caravan leader and be like, hey, if I helped you defend, can I get a portion of the cut? And they can just lie to you and say yes, and then never give you anything, right? Like, and this is something where I feel like the game should reward the defenders in some way, because there should be actually bonus rewards for defenders and not for attackers. The attackers' reward is taking their crap. That's already enough reward because they don't really have anything to risk. But if you are going to have 39 other people with you because you constructed your caravan, those players should be rewarded in game for something, whether it's gold, whether it's like a crate at the end that's like a grab bag of different kind of materials from the node or something like that. The game should reward you for your time, and depending on how far you've trekked, the reward just gets like multiplicative, right? So if you go to like one node in, you know, the Riverlands to another node of the Riverlands, it's like a small crate, right? But let's say you go from like the Riverlands, like I said, to the Dunzale Mountains, then you should get a pretty big crate for every defender that helped you defend, right? That's the way I would personally do it. But it's really hard to talk about a sense of balance when none of us are literally playing the game. You know what I mean? Like, and this is why it's all theoretical. This is why I wanted to have this discussion. I think that boring part is part of it, where when it's inefficient, the players won't want to join you, making it not worth it to have 100+ people. Well, Yellish, I'm mostly talking because, again, a lot of the guilds that I've talked to, if it ends up going to be a numbers game, they're still going to invite their own players because this is guild materials. Like, the people, and again, the people that talk about like, oh, I'm going to create a caravan run with like a couple of my friends, like, and we're going to go and do this, I think aren't going to be as normalized as people think, personally. Like I think those kinds of caravan runs will be very few and far between, in my opinion. And again, I could be wrong. I'm just some dude on the internet, and don't take my word for it. But this is all kind of fears that I have. The fear of having a system like this that's actually a really fun and engaging system that could literally end up just being a system that people end up hating in the end because it's boring, it's not fun. It's like, yes, we like having the materials being hauled from one place to the other, but the PvP is so boring. Like, there's hardly any PvP. No one wants to PvP. Well, of course not, because no one wants to be just like this guy. This is what happens whenever you have 150 players versus 50 players. What happens to this guy right here? How he gets yeeted and deleted? That's what happens. And who wants that to happen to their group? No one. So they'll rather just not participate and go about their day and do something else. Let me see. Something you can get some rewards out of some point. Let me see. That is the problem for this summer. Let me see. I doubt you will see very few caravans on the road either. Well, the other thing about it too is I think people underestimate the scope of the landmass in Ashes. The world is going to be huge. Ridiculously huge. Players, I think, are going to be concentrated more into certain regions or areas. And they could go into other areas, but because fast travel isn't really going to be a thing in Ashes of Creation, if your guild is kind of centralized and headquartered in a certain region, it's going to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Cumbersome to trek so far outside of your headquarters. And you may be doing that for a particular purpose for your guild, but if you're just doing it to do it, and they need your help on a caravan run, you're going to have to trek potentially hours back to your region. Again, these worlds are huge. You know, I'm hoping that with mounts, it's not going to be that like hours long. Like, I hope not. And with scientific nodes, maybe having like zeppelins, stuff like that. Like, it's really hard to say, right? Like, because we can all say like, you know, oh, it's going to be very long, but maybe it's not. You know, who knows? I hope there's flight paths in Ashes of Creation, but they haven't really talked about that either, and how you're going to be able to go from one point of the world to the other. But if there is very few ways to go from point A to point B outside of just running or mounting, you don't want to really be outside of your area. And if that's the case, you're only going to be experiencing caravan runs from guilds native to that area. And that's it. And again, once you start understanding your enemy, they're going to start doing things to circumvent the other enemies in their area. So again, I want this system to be successful. Like, that is the best thing that I can say about this system. And again, the boring part, I understand that there's going to be probably many caravan runs you'll go to and never ever be hindered by a player, right? You can potentially have 10 people in your caravan run and you'll see no players because you're in a certain obscure part of the region. It's maybe a certain time of day, you know, and you can get away scot-free. Those runs will happen 100%. But I'm talking about like on average, like what the average caravan run experience is like. That's all I'm saying. There's always that chance you could run into PvP, and that makes it thrilling. But if the average, like, let's say if there's a 2 out of 10% chance you'll encounter PvP, are people going to like that? Are people going to find the caravan system really engaging or fun? Or even to a PvPer's perspective, is that going to be fun to those players? Probably not, because they want to do the caravan run not only to get, rewards or, go to in-node resources and stuff like that, but they also want to engage in some PvP. And you can't really do that if your group has so many players that it makes it intimidating for other players to join, you know? Wouldn't you be able to just abuse the system, consistently running defensive caravans and people spam running them, joining defense to get that guaranteed reward? That wouldn't happen if you had a proper scouting party. Well, with the whole defensive thing, again, you could have, if you don't have a full party, players could potentially do that. But all I am saying is, like, defenders have so much more to risk. And if you don't limit the amount of defenders, or you don't limit the amount of attackers, like, again, I just feel like it's not going to be the thing that people are going to find attractive to do, right? They'll do it for their guild. But again, it's going to be very hard, you know, outside of that, if you're just solo gathering or just questing or doing stuff by yourself. If you see a caravan run, if you know that guild, you'll maybe opt in to defend them because you like them, or you'll opt in to attack them because you don't like them, or you're not saying you don't like them, it's just you want to attack a caravan, you want to engage in some PvP. You could do that. You know, it's completely up to you. I'm just trying to circumvent this particular... All I'm trying to do is basically circumvent this particular system from being a slog, or being, you know, just potentially like not worth it for people, you know? That's all I'm saying. Because when I hear people talk about Arcade, especially when it comes to caravan runs, they seemed bored. You know, like the caravan runs, like, yeah, like we did a caravan run, trade pack runs and blah, blah. And it's like, it wasn't as exciting to hear what they had to say about it. And that's very saddening to me, because I want the system to succeed. You know, they're clearly putting a lot of effort in the system. They clearly want the system to succeed. So, like, why aren't we trying to make this system the best we possibly can? You know? And I'm just trying to promote dialogue. You know, I'm just trying to create a discussion here. You know, it's not saying that I feel so much one way or the other. I am just trying to talk about, you know, in an actual gameplay session outside of a tested area that's kind of pure created to show us what the system offers. But more realistically, like, when there are thousands of players on a server, like, what does a caravan run look like realistically? You know? Let me see. Steven did bring up the reputation side of it, where if you consistently attack small caravans, then people will target you more. And if you attack with more, 3 times more people, then it's going to be not efficient to transport. Well, and again, I feel like the reputation, this is my thing. The reputation side of it, people can say all they want that, oh, your reputation won't be affected. But it's going to be one of those things that you honestly think that people are going to monitor 40 randos. It's easier if it's a whole group or a guild, right? Like, if a certain guild, like Envious, is going to all attack a caravan, then yes, you can say their reputation might get sullied if all they're doing on their server is attacking caravans all day, right? But if people are randomly joined to be an attacking caravan, you mean to tell me that people are going to start, like, writing down people's individual names, like, every single time? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, people don't work that way. Will there be some people that will do that? Absolutely. But it's hard, because then it could just be hearsay. Like, oh, this person attacked my caravan. It's like, well, what proof do you have? Like, unless you have some screenshot. And again, to monitor and to keep track of people's reputation, it's not going to be as easy as people think. Like, it's just, people say that and think, oh yeah, your reputation. But reputation has to be monitored. And also, when there's thousands of people on your server, reputation doesn't really start taking hold until months after, because then you'll start getting like the known trolls, the known this. But it's really hard if you're just like, for me, I might attack a couple of caravans here and there. Am I just going to have a negative reputation because I attacked a couple of random caravans here and there? No, I don't think so. Like, again, it comes down to the kind of player you are. And again, it's really hard to just say, oh, your reputation is going to be ruined. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a very buzzwordish kind of thing to say, but nothing truly happens in the end, you know? And again, in 2007, when I played World of Warcraft, there was many players on my server that had a reputation, but that reputation was built up over years, not months or days, years of certain players being on the server. Let me see. You don't get a rep hit for attacking a caravan. Exactly. You don't. Yes, you will have a negative rep. Okay, if you say so. Let me see. Adding an alignment system in the game would be interesting. Dude, oh my God. I have been wanting a Star Wars good and bad karma system for each player so freaking bad. Like, I want, like, Fable. Like, if you ever played Fable on the N64, Fable had a karma system, and I loved it because you can go total hero or total villain or be like neutral. Like, and I loved being neutral because you were kind of like, you don't know what I'm going to do. I could help you or I cannot help you. Like, it's one of those things that I think, especially in a game like Ashes, would be so good. It would be so good to have something like that. Like, because again, something like that would be easier to identify reputation. Because if you don't have a system like that, it's going to be very hard for you to particularly have a negative reputation. Because if you're going to have a negative reputation, like I'll do a little short story for you guys. I'll keep it as short as possible. 2007, I was playing Burning Crusade and World of Warcraft, and it was December of 2007. This was months because January Burning Crusade came out. There was a particular mage on our server that was known for going into groups and leaving, just abruptly leaving. And, at that time, it was really annoying to just then find another DPS. And it was just like, okay, we're not going to invite this. Guilds had meetings of this dude and said, guild leaders got with other guild leaders to say, hey, there's this mage on the server that's literally just going into groups and just leaving. So every guild leader had guild meetings with their guilds and says, if you see this particular person, don't invite them. And this player ended up leaving our server because no one would play with them. And again, I'm not saying reputation does matter, but it's not going to matter in the grand sense of like you're going to literally microscopically watching every single individual player on a server. It's impossible. Will certain players be targeted, or will certain players be more of a troll or more of a fucking pain in the ass on a server? Absolutely. And it's going to be those players that are going to have a negative reputation. It's one of those things that, again, I feel like people had, let me see. So he had a negative reputation. You just proved it. Oh, exactly. But it took months. And again, like it takes a long time for you to actually develop a negative reputation on your server. But if you're doing things in a neutral way, where certain times you're doing a positive thing, times you're doing a negative thing, and again, maybe you're not a YouTuber or a streamer or whatever, people don't know you. It's really hard to just identify. Like, you're just going to have to go off of what people say, like, or what guild they're in. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to know most of the time what kind of a player they are, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, a warning when you target someone will be useful. I mean, it really just depends, right? It honestly just depends. Yeah, didn't Fable come out on the N64? Or no, Fable came out on Xbox, the regular Xbox, not N64. I am so sorry. I was like, wait a minute, N64? Did I say that? Okay, Fable came out on the regular big ol' hulking Xbox. So sorry. Thank you, Oracle, for for mentioning that. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things that having some kind of a karma system in Ashes, I think would be amazing, is all I'm trying to say. Like, but again, it's really hard in a game like Ashes to properly dictate what is a good deed and what is a bad one, I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, maybe in certain systems, it's kind of hard to define like what is a good thing or what is a bad thing, because sometimes a bad thing could end up leading to a good thing, right? It just depends, like, on how they gamify it, right? And what action is always considered a bad thing, or what action is always considered to be a good thing. But even that can be very, very, very deceiving, because again, you can see someone who has like 100% good boy points attack your caravan. So, oh my God, are they a bad player now? Like, no, it's just, You know, maybe they're bored. Maybe they want to attack your caravan. You know, it's the game. You know, it's like, hey, they saw a caravan, they're going to attack it. Like, that's not going to make this person a targeted person on the server now because they attacked a caravan. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, again, I just feel like, you know, people say player reputation as this buzzword that's going to like stop you from doing bad things. It's like, no, it's not. It isn't. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to burst people's bubble. It's just not. Let me see. Chaotic evil next to your name would be sick. Oh yeah, that would. I just think attackers should lose reputation with the node that launched the caravan. That would be interesting. Like, again, I think Intrepid could come up with really creative ways to circumvent, or not circumvent, but to incentivize, like, you know, certain karmas, right? Good stuff, bad stuff, right? And I think as a player, like, it is helpful to see, you know what I mean? Like, what a certain player is. Because again, even if they made a basic karma system to just show that for every time you kill a green player, you get a bad boy point. Every time you know, but what's the good boy point in that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, so you kill a bad player, that's a bad boy point. Well, what gives you a good boy point? What in the game is going to automatically give you a good boy point for killing a green or killing a purple player? You know, like inviting a player to your group and helping them do a quest. Like, how does the system track that? Like, and again, this is all stuff that Intrepid has to gamify to make a karma system like actually feel like it's really representing your true player character, right? And what its motives are. So yeah. There is an AOC wiki, people look it up. You don't get negative rep for attacking a caravan. Yeah. Yeah. And again, the negative rep is supposed to be the player created thing. Like the players on your server, you're going to develop a negative reputation for constantly, you know, attacking caravans. But again, those players would have to then monitor or write down certain names that you saw on the attacking side and like put that in a book or in a doc somewhere and then be like, okay, I saw him do that one time. If I see him do it again, I'm going to put another doc on his name. You know, it's like, are people literally going to be doing this? Like, I don't think so. Like, I think like, again, very small people, like less than 0.5% of the population might end up doing something like that. I just think on the grand scheme of things, like, you're not even going to really know like the attacking side. You're just going to see a red player. Hey, I'm going to attack him and kill him. You know, like, that's just literally it. That's like the extent of what's going to happen, you know? But, yeah, you have no idea on how people hold grudges. Well, and again, all I am saying is certain guilds will do that. Certain people might do that. I just don't think it's going to be this normal game behavior that people are going to do, is what I'm saying. Let me see. I kept a kill on site list in WoW, and that shit is pretty cool. And again, I'm not saying people don't do that. I'm not saying that there's never a person that ever does this. All I'm saying is that's not going to be the norm. That's all I'm saying. I'm curious if you could write it on message boards at the tavern or something. Meat hooks, dude. What's going on, man? It's good to see you. Exactly, grudges. Yeah, I mean, I think again, like people will hold grudges 100%, but it's just one of those things that, you know, I've said this so many times, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, reputation is not gonna be as hard hitted as people think, is bottom line what I'm saying. But the caravan system, I thought it was really cool. The transition from the water to land, from land to water, freaking amazing. Like I said, the fact that you can't see the HP markers. Like, let me see if I can go here. See, like right here, there's a red player right here. The fact that you can't see HP markers, love it. Honestly, what would you guys think if you couldn't even see what class they are? Would you guys be okay if you could not, like, first of all, you don't know what class they are, right? Like, if you see someone with a two-handed sword, that doesn't mean shit. Two-handed sword, you can see a tank with that. You can see a cleric with that. You can see a bard with that. Like, just because you see them with a two-handed sword doesn't mean they're automatically a fighter, right? So, again, like, and this is all stuff that, of course, needs to be tested. But the one thing that I would love to see is, if you're within a level marker or a level range, seeing the level of a player is fine. I think it's fine. Not being able to see the HP, love it. But I also don't think you should be able to see the class either. I don't think you should be able to see what class they are. Yeah, that is a good idea. We shouldn't know what class they are. Yeah, I think it would make it more interesting if you just saw a player coming up to you and all you know is their name, their level, and that's it. Like, I think it would make PvP very interesting, especially it being in a rock, paper, scissors approach, right? Because now you don't know, as soon as they fire out a mage orb, then okay, they're a mage, right? Like, you'll know automatically like what it is. But I think before they engage in combat, you shouldn't know what kind of what class they are. Yeah, I would love to identify them based off of skills. I think it's fine. If you can't see class, it adds a layer of knowledge prowess that you can identify what they are by their animations and effects. Well, I think it'd be really interesting too, because then you can kind of bait them into just like doing your basic attacks, right? Like, so if you're wielding like a two-handed sword and you're just doing your basic attacks and you think, oh, okay, this guy's a fighter, you know, but then it's like psych, and you're like, you know, sheeped, or you're sleeped, or, you know, you're like, oh, I'm a mage secretly, you know, like it adds like a little bit of a layer of surprise to your attacks. Or if you see someone with a bow and you're like, oh damn, it's a ranger, or you're like, oh good, it's a ranger because I beat rangers, I eat them for breakfast. But then you're like, shit, you were a cleric with a bow, fuck, you know what I mean? I think not being able to see class just adds that extra surprise element in PvP. And I think it'd be a lot of fun if you just didn't know. That ranger shoot holy arrows. That's a soul bow. 100%. My advice for everyone is to just join an established guild in AOC already. You can find them on the forums recruiting thread. If you're a decent player, I would suggest joining the Axiom guild. Well, I'm an Axiom. Darren's clearly an Axiom guy. But for me, you know, go to the forums, go to the AOC Discord. There's an NA guild recruitment page. There's many, many, many guilds. I would suggest to join a guild that thinks the way you do. If you are a profession-driven person, then find a guild that values professions the way you do. If you are a PvP-driven person, then find a guild that thinks and eats and sleeps the way of PvP the way you do. That is the best advice I can give anybody. Yeah, you have to test the waters first, then fight them. Let me see. Didn't some MMOs already do this, by the way? Like, only show class when they use their first ability. Even with BGs did this, I think. I mean, I'm a WoW Andy. I played WoW for almost 17 years, so I haven't really tried a plethora of MMOs. Like, I've played Final Fantasy 14, SWTOR, Guild Wars 2. That's about it. I tried ESO for like the first 10 levels. ESO is just not a game that I liked. I tried New World, wasn't my kind of MMO. But all I'm saying for a game like AOC, the whole game to me is a mystery. Like, in certain aspects, right? There's certain mysterious elements in play. And I think PvP should definitely have a mysterious element. And because you don't know, like I said, what their HP is, if they have all this gear that increases their HP, right? If they have a higher than usual HP amount because of how they constructed and crafted their gear, you could potentially be like, oh, damn, like, that's kind of crazy. I honestly would even love if there was a potion that you can drink that showed, even though you're level 15, can put like a skull on your name. So if you're going by and you're like, fuck, I don't want to be fucked with, then you can literally just have like a potion that puts a skull on your name for like a certain amount of minutes. And so now there's like, you know, I don't want people to mess with me and stuff, you know? Let me see. You knew what class they are, but now what spec they played and WoW, I mean? Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, go on. I'm listening on this one. They do have disguises. I mean, I don't know. It's just the whole class thing is just an interesting dynamic because classes are so not interchangeable, but because, you know, of the 64 class system and how all of these different ways kind of like can change your perspective on like what class is this, like who am I fighting and stuff like that. It just like you have to be that kind of player in PvP to just know like, oh crap, like based off of their spells, like what this class is or who this class is. Like I think it just keeps it interesting. And maybe as soon as they do their first class ability, now their class marker shows up on their portrait. I'm fine with that too. But I think it'd be very interesting to, before that happens, there's nothing there, you know. So that's kind of my take on that. Some guy on forum suggested entire utility ability skills based off of D&D. One of them was spot. So the whole utilities thing, I've talked about utilities. I have a video on my channel. So if you're on my YouTube channel, you know, definitely watch it. I talked more about the combat-based utility skills that I want Intrepid to kind of nail. But yeah, there's plenty of off-combat PvP or off-combat utility that I want them to experiment with for classes. I think having a lot of, you know, different kinds of utility for like, you know, finding treasure chests out in the world, or, you know, just having a class in a dungeon, you know, be able to like, hey, there's a room inside this dungeon that's completely pitch black, but the only class that could light up that room is the mage. So if you don't have a mage with you, you can't see what's inside that room, you know. And there's certain trap doors that only rogues can get into, you know. There's certain you know, NPCs that are guarding a treasure box, and the only class that can make the NPC go to sleep or to be distracted is the bard, you know, like stuff like that. Like I love those kinds of utility from a class, to where it's like, hey, this is my time to shine. I can do this ability, or I can, you know, make this happen for this dungeon that no other class can do. It makes you feel important. It makes you feel needed and valued in your group. I think a class marker shouting up after they use an ability would be the way to go. It'd be too hard for some players unless it was something like this. Not everybody knows every class ability. Yeah, and again, I'm all up for that too. I'm not wanting to make it so hard, but all I am saying is PvP is usually like a cat and mouse game, or like a game of speed chess. So I'm saying before you even know like what their first move is, you don't know what kind of player they are, you know. But as soon as they make their first move, now you'll be able to see like what class they are. And I think that's fine. Like I think it's a nice way, because you have that like up your sleeve, you can try to bait them in a certain direction, right? To think that you are another class, but you're not. Because again, every class can wield every weapon. So that kind of puts them into a particular space of like, I see them with the bow, but are they really a ranger? You know, I see them with daggers, but are they really a rogue? You know? And I think having that little bit of a mind fuck, like for the first like couple of seconds, just keeps you on your toes. It keeps the fight like even more exciting. But as soon now, okay, they really are a rogue, or oh damn, no, they weren't a rogue, they were a fighter, or you know, or they were a tank, you know, or whatever the case is, right? It just keeps it interesting, is what I'm saying. Dude, Firebrand, dude, what's going on? It's good to see you, man. Mr. Valentine, how's it going? You see, I was thinking about Happy Gilmore. That scene between Shooter and Happy is a classic. Let me see. They say that the Caravan was a basic Caravan. I didn't see it use any abilities on the Caravan. No, they did use abilities. Steven was constantly using the speed boost. So the abilities are right here. This ability, this ability, this ability, and this ability. These are all Caravan based abilities. Or wait. No. Hold on. Let me... So when Steven's driving the Caravan, there is... here we go. This ability right here, I think, is the boost. You'll see him click on it, and he'll boost. But these are the Caravan-based abilities right here. Yeah, speed boost. Did you see that? Right here. He was constantly using the speed boost. And then he also has, I think this one right here is the repulsor ray, or repulsor blast that blasts everybody backwards and stuff. I came into those comments so fast this morning, I was ready. Were you Izzy? I'm sure you were. I meant like the heal aura or the repulsor. Yeah, I think the speed boost would be on all of them. Yeah, the repulsor one was on here. I don't know if the heal one was on this one particularly, because you have to add in the particular components to have that ability. So they didn't really show us create the Caravan this time around. The Caravan was already created. Let me see. An example of the utility skills part of what they showed in the live stream, since some of the people missed, the mage uses arcane eye to detect stealth and camouflage players. Dude, I am so happy that classes have stuff like that, because like the flare for the hunter did the same thing in WoW. Like if you classed it a flare and you did it right where the rogue was and he was stealth, it would unstealth them. I think stuff like that is so important, especially in a game where there are going to be classes with camouflage, stealth, and stuff like that. So you can, you know, if you're good enough of a player, like, or of a mage, you can just like have that and, you know, feel like you can have some kind of a chance. Oh, that's right. You can have two sets of weapons. So that could even play in even further into the game, which honestly does make it pretty exciting. Let me see. Will we see villains in the game? I hope so. Steven summons his own Caravan. That's not the Defender's Caravan. Yeah, the Defender's Caravan was destroyed. So Steven launched his Caravan outside of the destroyed Caravan. Let me see, and that is good since I have a weakness or disadvantage on my class to keep up with the fight engaging. Utility items would be interesting too. Yeah. And that's where professions are going to come in to make certain weapons more, or certain items or craftables exciting. Like arcane engineering, I have no idea what arcane engineering is going to be. Like if it's anything like WoW's engineering, where you have all these kind of bips and bobs of like different power-ups and different, you know, weird kind of utility kind of spells. Like I would love if arcane engineering had something to do with that, but who knows? Like it could be another complete profession that does something like that, or multiple professions actually contribute to utility skills, you know, who knows? Like, I don't know. It's just, it is what it is, you know? Let me see. Can we move egg mounts in the Caravan? Can we move egg mounts in the Caravan? I think you can put, well, the other interesting thing is like right now they have a basic Caravan with basic horses and stuff like that. I would love if you could customize like what kind of horse or the two kind of mounts that you can have pulling the Caravan, and then also customizing the Caravan itself, you know, which I think they are, because you can buy Caravan skins and stuff like that. And usually you'll see like one of the cosmetic Caravans with like the cosmetic mount usually, right? So that'd be sick for solo PvP. I mean, potentially. All right, guys. Well, I just wanted to kind of stream a little bit today. Guys, I just want to say for everybody that's watching on YouTube, this is like the first time, and I honestly did this out of a sheer mistake of streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. But guys, if you guys are a fan of Ashes of Creation, if you haven't seen my content, my name is Vlhadus from Vlhadus Gaming. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I mean, I put out videos as much as I can. I'm a brand new father. I have a 2-month-old baby, so I've been very much behind on making YouTube content regularly, but I do try to like make my content on there. So, you know, if you like my content or if you're already subscribed, awesome. I really appreciate you just showing up and just engaging in the conversation and stuff like that. I will be hopefully trying to make out this video sometime this coming week on the Caravan system, and the things that we literally discussed in this live stream will be, of course, further discussed and explained as to my opinion in that video. So, guys, thank you guys so much for showing up, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Make good decisions, be safe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later, guys.